are back in Brick Kicker lands, and it is podcast time, or vlog, something like that. But hey, we're trying our best, and we are excited to be here, and we are talking about part two of fall maintenance.
Fall maintenance, the deuce.
The deuce. It's about 80 degrees outside right now in good old Chicagoland. That's likely not to stick around too long, so let's get kicking here on our fall maintenance list.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about a bunch of things last time. Let's finish up a little bit of the outside, and then we'll start talking about some more stuff on the inside.
Great.
Water. It's the common denominator for life, right? We need it to live. We and our houses are surrounded by it, and so you should really walk around the outside of your house, look for all the entry points, cracks in the foundation, downspouts that aren't pointed away, all those things. Prevent the water from coming into the basement from the outside first.
Yeah, and think about it now, because in the springtime is when you'll feel the repercussions.
Yeah.
Do it now while the weather's nice. Get your window wells covered, downspouts extended. The grading, make sure the grading is sloped away from your house.
Clean the window wells.
Clean them out. A lot of debris. We find a lot of junk piled up, dead animals that get in there and things like that. So now's the time to do it.
If you're in some of the inner cities, and we have those parkway sidewalks that are right between the gangways of the house, seal between the house and the sidewalk. They have some really good materials out there that can create that good seal. Because if you don't, that's a great spot. In the dead of winter or in the spring when it's the freeze and the thaw, it's tough to get that caulk warm enough.
Right.
You're sitting there with one tube of caulk on the heat register, the other tube, and you're yelling, "Throw me another one!" You just keep flipping. It's not fun.
Quickcrete makes a great product. I found it at Home Depot when I was there last week. I love Home Depot, and I think we at Brick Kicker love Home Depot. We have an affiliation with Home Depot, so go to our website brickkicker.com. You'll see the Home Depot logo. Exclusive discounts just for those that are visiting brickkicker.com. But Quickcrete, great product to handle just that. It's like a caulk.
It's a self-leveling joint compound. It's the same stuff. It actually came from the major construction industry, where they used to use it to pour in the joints of the concrete, and then find its spot. The homeowner version, it's like a really loose silly putty.
Ah, that's great.
And when it gets poured on there, it just fills up, and then it stays semi-hard the rest of its life.
That's great.
It's a great.
You don't have to get your tools and fingers all dirty then.
No. Nope. And it's the one stuff I saw from Quickcrete. It's in its own tube, so you don't even have to have a caulk gun. No. You just got to sit there and kind of mix it up in the tube, and it's got a nozzle, so it works great. It's like pouring out mustard. Yeah. So it's just an awesome thing. But so once you've sealed out the inside, go to the sealed out the outside, go to the inside. We always start up high, so let's talk about the attic. In the north, we talk about ice dams, and so and that's usually when the snow and the ice on the roof thaws, and it hits the really cold spot at the eave line, freezes again, and then it becomes a dam, and then the ice starts building back up, and so you really want to check your attic for ventilation. You want to, especially the north side where they could be molded up, where the trees are growing up against the roof. Air needs the inner, air needs the exit.
Yeah, the attic is, I like to tell clients, think of the attic space like your lungs. It's the breathing capacity. So if you don't have good airflow in, it's going to start to break down throughout the rest of the house.
And that's a great way to look at it, because they are your lungs, and all houses suck. Yeah. They're a giant vacuum. Yep. And when the air hits the side of the house and goes up on the eaves at turbulence and creates this venturi, and it pulls the air from the basement or the crawl space or the slab, and it all goes up into the attic. And if you got fish tanks, if you've got potted plants, if you run your humidifier too high, all that moisture ends up in your attic.
And that's a great point. Yeah. I never really thought about the fish tanks or the plants, and even us as humans. We're made of mostly moisture. So you think about people don't think about that when they're in their house, and you get up in an attic and we see the mold, and where's it coming from? And you think, okay, well maybe there's a leak someplace. Well, it's really not a leak. It's us. It's our living in the house.
Yeah. And I think of with my children when they were young, they had a tendency to never want to use the fan in the bathroom. And so that hot steamy shower, that air would go up into the ceiling, then it'd get into the vent, and then get into the metal pipe, and then it'd drip back down. And the kids, the floor's all wet.
Yep.
You know, it's because you didn't turn the fan on, you knucklehead. And then the pipe isn't insulated. So then I went up and insulated the pipe. And so these are the things you want to look for when you're up in the attic is, where's my moisture considerations? And am I going to breathe?
Yeah.
There's a lot of houses that have fans.
The whole house fan?
The attic fan. So you want to make sure those are working. Because if it died over the summer, then that motor is sitting there frozen, could catch on fire.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that those are moving and safe.
A lot of clients will ask, should these fans be running in the wintertime? Or should they be running in the summertime? Is there a rule for the power fans in the attic space? What's your take on that?
I like my fan to have two modes, temperature and humidity. So it has a thermostat and a humidistat. And I've always set my fan at 100 degrees. So there's been times in February, if my attic hit 100, it came on. I didn't care. It was set the temperature and I left it alone. And by keeping it 100 degrees, I knew that I was going to keep my house temperate and thermally safe from moisture. That was the key. And if you have a humidistat on it, then if you got a buildup of moisture, even though the temperature might be low, because it's Thanksgiving and I'm cooking a turkey all day, and I've got 15 people in the house off gassing this way, and producing all that moisture that you were talking about, then yeah, I want to be able to control that. Otherwise, I'm walking around, you know, the equivalent of the Holodome at the Holiday Inn. It's just really damp and stuff like that.
You know, speaking of attics, the attic scuttle point is typically in most homes is a 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch piece of drywall. And we all know hot air rises in the wintertime. And if you don't have that properly sealed, that's a big, again, suction point. All that air from the outside is moving through the attic. That's just going to take all the heat with it. So, rigid foam board. There's various insulation products that you can use, but insulate the back side of that because that's a big loss point.
Yep. And when we're doing inspections, we have cameras. We have the thermal cameras. We can actually see where there's things called thermal bridging. We can see where there's missing insulation. All those become very, very visible. In fact, on next week, I think on Tuesday, I'm actually doing a thermal camera of a person that's the last 3 years at ice stamps.
Oh.
And so I'm going to go out there and help this person try to identify. One of our colleagues didn't want to do it.
Good.
And so I'm going to go out there and try to identify where this is coming from, you know, but based on science. And she's like, "You're not going to make any holes?" I promise. I might make a couple laser marks, you know, but I was joking with her. But yeah, so that's going to be fun. And then when you start thinking, if you think of the lungs of the home being the attic, then the heart of the home is probably the furnace, the heating plant. And in the fall, especially before we turn it on, it's probably the right time to really make sure that you're up and ready for the rest of the year. Changing the filter in the humidifier if you have one of those.
That's a big one. That often gets neglected. The humidifier can be a blessing and a curse depending on your lifestyle, how you live in your home. If you've got a nice airtight home, new construction, most home builders will say don't put a humidifier in because you're closed off too much. But that pad will get dirty, and if you don't change it, I mean it's $6 to change it. You know.
Yeah, you might have a house, and if you're looking for money efficiency, then maybe taping the seams of your ductwork. Checking for that. If you've got a boiler that's a warm water boiler, then lubricating the pumps and making sure that those are working. Cleaning the fans. You know, some of this stuff is stuff that a homeowner doesn't want to do. Then that's when you get your technician out there. It's not an expensive endeavor. Let's say it's $200.
Yep.
It'd be the best $200 you're going to spend, because if it's 4 below zero and your furnace dies because the fan seized up because you didn't change the filter, it's on you.
And you don't, I mean, if you live in the South, don't have to worry about the heating so much. But for us in the North, we don't know how long our winter's going to last. We've been blessed with some mild winters, but it could be a very long, and you'd hate to say, well, I'll do it next year. that thing's gonna be a powerhouse all winter long, working and jugging. So make sure you take just a little bit of time to pay attention to it and call a professional.
Yep, and all of our clients, past clients, all know they can call us anytime.
Yep.
We'll coach them through everything. There's all kinds of resources out there on the internet, but at the end of the day, professionally servicing your HVAC unit, whether it's a heat pump down south, a forced air furnace up north, an oil burning furnace in the northeast, or any other form of heat that we might have anywhere in the country, even
Fireplace.
the fireplace, the stick burners that they have up in the way northern Wisconsin areas. All of those do require some level of professional attention.
And fall, we're talking about fall maintenance. Fall is the time to do it because you're going to need to rely on those systems. And you don't want to be, that's where the emergency calls come in, and that's where the dollar bills start going up. When it's a Sunday night, it's Thanksgiving, and the water heater's going to fail, or the furnace is going to go out. So jump on it now.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. And if that technician comes out in October and says, "I'm sorry, we've got this problem," it's a whole lot easier to take care of it in October because you don't have to get it done like your hair's on fire. If it takes a day or two to get it done, that's great. But if you have to get it done in the middle of January or February, they're going to charge you that premium.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's one reason we love doing what we do, because we can help you save those headaches and dollars in the long run.
Yeah, I've always, I'm sure every HVAC contractor that's going to watch this is going to get nerked at me. But I've always told my clients, buy a new furnace. It doesn't have to be this new.
Yeah.
Every furnace contractor or furnace supply shop has a 2 or 3 or 4 year old furnace that's sitting back in the corner that nobody's touched. It's still in the box. It just happens to not be this model year, but it's still brand new.
Yeah.
And you might be able to save some money on it. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, that's a great point.
To ask hey, what do you have in the back room that I can take off your hands that's going to fit me?
Yeah, last year's model.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
great. So heating and cooling systems, fall maintenance, cooling systems. Really not worry about that too much. If you're in the southern states, you're wanting to maintain your cooling system all year round, because Florida, California, Texas, Arizona, you can get some hot days in January and February. Yeah. So if you're in the southern states, pay attention to your cooling systems like you would to the heating systems up north.
There are some people that like to cover their air conditioners in the wintertime. I've never been that person. They're designed to be out in the weather, but I get it. And so I've resorted now to, when I cover them, I only cover the top 6 inches. I still want to let it breathe around the outside. I don't want anything to sit there and kind of freeze on the inside. But by just sealing the top, that keeps the snow and the ice from laying on top and just kind of festering.
Think about mice are a big thing when you're in wooded areas or natural areas. Mice, that's a perfect hiding spot for them. And then the last thing you want is them chewing and gnawing at your fin coils and all that stuff. So.
Yep.
Great. So heating and cooling systems. Anything in the electrical system that we need to worry about?
There's really, if you were one of those people, then you test your smoke detectors. You make sure that they got fresh batteries. And I've never met that person, but there are some people that test their ground fault circuit interrupters monthly. It says it on the stamp.
Test monthly.
Never met that person, but but maybe twice a year you just go hit the button and it popped and reset it. If it doesn't pop or reset, then you know it's broken. That's what we want to deal with.
And then, of course, disconnect your garden hoses from your hose bibs.
Yep.
That can cause frozen pipe issues. Make sure that, if you have gas lines outside from a gas grill or fire pit, that you turn the gas valve off. And just tidy up your yard, because once the snow starts flying, the last thing you want to do is be walking through your yard and trip and break an ankle over a soccer ball that was left out, or loose pavers. Ice and water, freeze and thaw effect, especially in the northern states, it's a real thing. And you got to think about those mild days. You got nice, soft ground because it's all melted. temperature drops and now it freezes. And then you have that expansion and contraction. So if you haven't paid attention to loose pavers or whatnot, that you'll notice it in the springtime.
Yes, you will.
So awesome. Well, this is good stuff, Rob. And all of this stuff can be found on brickkicker.com. We're going to continue to talk about maintenance throughout all of these podcasts. But given that it's September, now is a good time to talk about the fall maintenance. So anything else we need to let them know?
Subscribe at the button.
Yeah, subscribe. We've learned that it's going to be down below. So subscribe. We want to share it with our friends and family, and we're here for you. So the Brick Kicker, 30 years in business, 31 now, and we're going to keep kicking for another 30. So any questions, ideas, or suggestions, let us know. Give us a call at 800-821-1820. No matter where in the country you are, we're here to help. Until then, Rob, we'll see you next week.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Cool.